Welcome back. Everybody clap it up for Baby Shep in the comments. Drop the clap emoji. Steven's going on week 3 of being a dad. But
that's right.
This is the Slice Tennis Podcast presented by Betway. And we have another awesome show coming for you guys as we're in the Asian swing to tee it up for you guys what you're going to hear today on the pod. We're going to talk about Sinner and Alcaraz being at the big 3 level. Mats Wilander was talking some crazy, some people say nonsense, some people agree with him about Sinner and Alcaraz's level compared to Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer. Next, we're going to get into some viral quotes from our boy Medvedev as he was kind of talking about how fast the balls are playing, how they might help.
Quote King.
Quote King, truly the Quote King. And we're going to get into the Quote King's quotes. I won't even give that much up. And then third story, we have to talk about social media and the haters out there. Your boy's been taking some shots, some maybe deserved, some not deserved, but we have some funny stories, both Steven and I do, about some mean internet people. And then, of course, we have Smash or Pass. Steven, what's good with the week?
What's good with the week, man, is we're still crushing TV shows, hanging out, spending a lot of time just sitting around with this baby Shepherd. He's the best. He's so funny. He's so cute. But, I try and spend as much time letting my amazing wife, sleep, like before kind of the night and like in the morning. So I'm just chilling with him on the couch a lot. I end up watching a lot of television, which normally I don't. So it's kind of nice. I feel like in these weeks, we're kind of just letting ourselves enjoy things that we typically maybe don't as much, like eating out. Like we've got amazing community here who are like giving us a lot of meals in the freezer. Some people give us like Uber Eats vouchers and things like that. Shout out to our friends. So we're just like Uber Eating. We haven't cooked like a real meal in like 3 weeks essentially. And it's been awesome. Like you get to like kind of just give yourself like a runway for that. And then I'm watching more television than I probably should. I've burned through like four seasons of Mad Men, which is, one of the greatest television shows of all time. Objectively, everyone says it. It's so good. It's unreal. Yeah. So that's essentially my last week has been like going on walks and being like, hey, we got out for a walk, hanging out with the baby, changing. I would probably say over 100 diapers at this point, which is crazy if you think about it. Like he's only 3 weeks old.
We got any explosions in the diaper?
No, not like no explosions because like some crazy facts about I think newborn baby poop is it doesn't smell. Isn't that crazy?
Is that true across the board?
I don't know. It's true for Shepherd. It barely smells. Like you can tell obviously that something's going on, but like it's so he's gonna like this is like so not how some people don't want their kids on the internet at all. This is like the opposite. He's like sometimes his farts will smell like a little bit, but like his poops literally don't smell at all. And then but he has peed on me like a couple times. Like his it's like he'll be like if he's pooped, like he'll change that, and then all of a sudden like you can kind of see like, oh, it's something about the it's like and just like sprays. You got these little things that's like called like a PPTP, and you like it's like a little cone, like a cloth cone that this one has golf like clubs on it. Just like plop it on there and like cap it like a fire hydrant because he's strong. He's got a lot of PSI behind that. So it's
hang on. So wait, so the PPTP, it's like he's laying on his back and he starts peeing and then you do it, or like how?
Yeah, well, or you can, if you're smart, you put it on there before. It kind of covers his junk, and then if he pees, it just doesn't go anywhere. It just kind of stays on him because it like shoots out.
Got you.
So
has there been any close calls to the mouth?
No, it's only got on us like once or twice. So we've been pretty good. I will say I am like surgical with it. Like I got the because I'm doing the diaper changing at night. I go, my dad's a doctor. I like to, wasn't a surgeon, but you got the smooth hands. I like to say. So I go in there. I go slow is smooth, smooth is fast. So I'm like,
yes,
get him down. I got the spot for the laundry. I got the spot for the like the garbage. I got his new diapers and I got everything set up. And it's like boom, boom. It's like zip it slowly, do everything slowly, don't make mistakes. And then he's like, you're not fidgeting, because you can kind of get rattled when they're like screaming in your face and it's like night and they're like,
yeah,
person beside us can hear. So you're like, slow is smooth, smooth is fast with diapers. That's my advice. But yeah.
And then I guess I have two other questions for you. One, how does your dog get along with the baby?
Amazingly, she's our dog is the best dog ever. And when we first brought the baby home, it's funny because our dog's like a German Shepherd, and we named our baby Shepherd. So I guess I should call him German and Baby. That's really what I should call him.
Real bros.
But she was so like, oh my gosh, what's going on? So she was like smelling Shepherd constantly, like smelling, like kind of like always freaking out. Now she kind of just doesn't care. But if he's screaming, she will like trot over and be like, hey, can I help you? Or
That's
like, you know,
cool.
yeah. Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
Number two is I actually had another one, but are you I'm gonna stick with this one because you mentioned farting. Are you known for your farts? Like, would he get a good fart gene from you? Because
I don't think
me
I'm known for
personally,
my
I
farts.
can
No.
fart.
Like loudness or smell?
Everything, consistency, loudness, like volume, just
What's the difference
pitch.
between loudness and volume?
Oh, volume as in like how many?
Okay. I was like, but you kind of sounded like Kamala Harris out there, just like creating meaning for words.
Have you seen the girl on TikTok that does her impressions?
No.
Oh, dude, she's so funny. I'll have to send her to you. But the
Yeah.
reason I bring that up is because your boy, me and the host of the show I work on, Will Compton, y'all check his
Yeah.
page out. It is funny. One time in Detroit, we always go back and forth farting, and we have a lot of them on camera. In
That's funny.
Detroit, Will and I each hit 6 in a row, back to back to back, 12 in a row total, one on each person's head in the room, walked around, got them. So we're like
Yeah.
that with the farts.
Farting disturbs me. Like I don't like when guys are farting in my space. I'm like, I don't know if I'm a bit of a clean freak, but it like disturbs me a little bit. So, but Shepard, he does rip them like it's crazy. He'll just be like, and you're like, I'm like, oh, he just soiled his diaper, and I'll go check, nothing there. I'm just like, okay, you're just like ripping ass, like that's crazy. So yeah, he got a fart gene, but it's I don't, it's not from me. Let's just put it that way. I won't say who it's from, but it's not from me.
Oh no, Nicole, I hope you're not listening.
I hope not. But anyways, that's my week. Lots of baby talk, lots of bodily fluids and things. So lots to look forward to, JP. As I say, how was your week? What's going on with you in the new apartment?
My week was good, and I'll keep it short for the people. But I went back home this past weekend, or not back home. I went to Columbia, South Carolina, to go watch my Gamecocks play Ole Miss. I usually pick one game a year where I run my mouth about the opposing team.
Yeah.
More times than not, that does not end well for me, but it's worked well for me like 1 out of every 10 times. And when it does, it's awesome. Normally,
Yeah.
I keep my mouth shut during the year because I'm very aware of how my team is. But we went back for the Ole Miss game, and as a sports fan, as a diehard Gamecock fan, it's always super cool because, when you're a kid, you like dream of going onto the field, watch a game, meet the players, whatever. And so this was the first year by myself without my current job. I got to go on the field because my guy, who I can't name because he might get in trouble if people knew he was giving me the pass, but he hooked it up with the field pass for me and one of my good friends who was a groomsman in the wedding. It was his first time on the field. And so we got to meet South Carolina's best quarterback of all time. Shout out Connor Shaw. Grabbed a quick photo together, dapped each other up, message on Instagram, and 6-year-old JP is just through on the moon the whole time on the field. Like, man, I can't believe they're actually allowing me on the field as a fan of the team that is I truly just like a fan of the team with a little bit of internet personality on it. I'm just like, this is crazy, man. It's like 8-year-old JP would be freaking out because I was a kid that was running up to players asking them for hey, can I have your glove? All the stuff. And now to dap them up, build a little relationship is regardless of how the game went terrible. I still left with my cup full, just thinking, God, I'm so grateful.
That's awesome, man. I did actually I went and watched highlights of the game because of you. I'm now kind of like a Gamecocks fan just for your sake.
Oh,
And I was like, yeah, a lot of turnovers, unfortunately. We don't have to talk about the game. It was rough, but you're very humble and we appreciate that. But you are like a football or internet, but it's just your own funniness, your own comedy personality. So do some of these players know who you are? Did they recognize you? Be honest.
Yeah, there's like a couple players from Greenville, actually, my hometown, that like we follow each other on Twitter. Some of like the coaches come by, and then even the quarterback I was referring to, we like are talking. I give him like a little bit. He's like, "Oh, you're with the Bus with the Boys crew." I'm like, "Oh yeah." He goes, "Oh, I follow you guys. Like, I love the stuff." I'm like, "No way! I worshipped you like 8 years ago."
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
it is cool, and like the coaches are awesome. I got to meet the basketball coach, and it's just cool, man.
That is cool. You're the man. You're rolling up there. That's only gonna continue, and that's one day you guys will have a really good team. Do you think it will? Like, is it? I don't even know how college football works in that way. Like, is it possible that you guys would have a team that's like gonna beat Alabama, or is it kind of like a rigged system where like the best teams always get the best players?
Now more and more because of NIL and players getting paid, like the
Yeah.
best schools usually have the most money. So like Texas is going to be unstoppable. Alabama has a lot of rich donors, but this past week in college football was like upset city. Vanderbilt beat Alabama, and Vanderbilt is usually everybody's like guaranteed SEC win. So
Like Alabama
any
is. Yeah.
yeah, Vanderbilt, everybody always beats Vanderbilt.
Oh yeah.
And so Vanderbilt upset Alabama, which is just the beauty of college football. Unfortunately for the Gamecocks, we have to play Alabama, and you never want to play Alabama coming off of a loss. So we got
Yeah.
our
How many
work cut
times have
out
they
for
lost
us.
2 times in a row? Like, when's the last time they lost twice in a row?
There's no telling, dude. Probably like World War One.
But they don't have their coach right anymore. Like their legendary coach is done now.
He's gone, but I do love their current coach they have. He's also a stud. These things happen like that happened last week. Their team's incredible.
Yeah.
So we'll see, man. But enough about the American football. I know the people, guys. I actually call to action, please. I know a lot of you guys are not college football fans. You don't even have to be, but this is your opportunity. When people ask you, "Oh, do you keep up with any sports?" Say yes, college football. I like the Gamecocks because we need as many people as we can get.
You heard that, folks. You're now South Carolina fans, even if you don't care about football.
Yes, and one more thing as we go into our best bets segment, do not bet on the Gamecocks. That is I will continue to do it, but that's not responsible. I have to be there when we
Not
win.
responsible.
But let's get into our best bets of the day. A presentation of Betway. The best place to bet is Betway. Got to be 19 and up to play, and it is in collaboration with iGaming Ontario. Please play responsibly. Now we have the Shanghai odds futures. We're picking the winner, or we're gonna at
Yes.
least break down their odds. So, Steven, you want to go first?
Well, yeah, if we just run it from the top, like they've got Carlos Alcaraz won last week in Beijing, beating Yannick Sinner in a close 3-hour, 20-minute, I believe, 3-set match, which is crazy. If that was a 5-set match, that would have been close to 6 hours if it was still on the
Awesome
same
match.
pace. Awesome match. We'll get into the level later with some of the takes on it. But yeah, they got Carlos Alcaraz as the odds favorite at 162 plus 162 to win the tournament, and they got Sinner and Djokovic at plus 300. So actually kind of crazy to see Djokovic just as like the third ranked player in an odds showing here. Just over the last 10, 15 years, he's just always been the guy at the top with a negative a lot of times beside him. Then they got Zverev at 650, Medvedev at plus 800, and then it goes to Fritz at 2,000, Shelton at 3,300. They got Tommy Paul there at 4,000 shutout. JP Hovey's look alike, his twin, according to him.
Tommy Paul, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, Brad
Yeah,
Pitt.
for sure. But yeah, so Sinner or Djokovic at plus 300 is pretty decent. It's crazy. It's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of crazy to pick outright odds because there's only one winner, obviously. And then
Right.
as you get towards the top, there's one winner and there's multiple options. Whereas in a match, there's literally one winner and there's two options. So it's like, and it's a little bit more condensed. So I don't have a pick for any certain matches, but to be honest, I like Alcaraz again at 162. I thought his win there over Sinner was like important for him. You saw his coach like crying afterwards. It's like an
Yeah.
ATP 500 in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't matter, but I think he's an emotional player and he like rides the wave when it's going well, and he like gets crushed by it when it's like when he falls down sometimes. And it's all kind of up to him for the most part. But losing at the Olympics, as I said in my video, to Djokovic in that tight match, he went and had a stinker of a hard court run in America. But then,
Mhm.
as one of the commentators or commenters pointed out, he had a good Laver Cup and Davis Cup. Like the team events really got him fired up, and then he came to Beijing and beat Sinner. And he's actually beaten him 3 times this year. Sinner hasn't beaten him. So Sinner's the number 1 player in the world, but can't solve Carlos Alcaraz. So, yeah, what do you think, JP? I like Alcaraz at plus 162.
And that's what I was gonna say, man, because you brought it up. Alcaraz is 3-0 against him this year. And as much as players probably like to say they don't look into that stuff, I have a feeling Alcaraz and Sinner both know that's the case. And when
Both
it
are
comes
well
down
aware.
to it, and a battle of wills, I'm gotta ride with Alcaraz on who I would think would win. Because in his head, I gotta believe he and his team talk about, hey, we gotta go undefeated against Sinner this year.
Yeah, I think so. But actually, if you think about it, Sinner and Alcaraz are on the top half of the draw, which I was forgetting. Djokovic is on the bottom half with Zverev. So maybe is that plus 300 on Djokovic a lot nicer than maybe the other two, because he doesn't have to play either of those guys. He only has to play one of them, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Carlos could have to play Sinner and then Djokovic, or Sinner
Right.
could have to play Alcaraz and then Djokovic. Djokovic will just have to play the winner, and Zverev maybe. And Zverev's good, but he's Zverev.
We know how that goes.
Yes, we've been there before, as they say.
We have been there before. And I know I texted you. It was a bad time to text, but I think we should start when we make it to the finals, we should pick somebody and we'll just
Yeah,
throw a little tweet. Doesn't need to be a video. Just put,
yeah,
hey, the slice is riding with blank for this final. Let's win some
yeah.
money together.
Or at least have like a public ledger of like JP's riding with this guy, Steven's riding with this guy, and like track the
Yeah.
picks.
I
And
would
then when
love
we
that
both want the same guy, I guess we could both bet on the same guy.
for sure.
For sure.
So I'd
Bet
love
on the
that.
same horse, as they would say.
Yes.
Anyways, those are our picks. The Betway best bet of the day. Please pay responsibly, as JP always says.
Yes. What is it? Say as I do, don't do as I do. Do as I say, not as I do.
Do as I do as I say, not as I do. That's what I'm gonna be saying to Shepard when he's older about a lot of things.
But I get we were just kind of hitting on it. Do you want to give us a little quick update in Shanghai and what's going on, minus all of the delays?
Yeah, unfortunately in Shanghai, it looks like it's super rainy, and so they're playing like indoor in these like courts that have no stands, like, which is actually kind of sick if you think about it. Like
Fire.
imagine watching one of those matches, like so competitive. It's just like so quiet in there.
Mm-hmm.
Watching tennis like that is so sick, JP. If you get the chance, like if you watch these guys indoor practicing, it's just like like with no fans around, it's like such a different vibe.
Dude.
Watching Tsitsipas in Stuttgart, Germany, it's like this grass court club, and inside in the facility, there's a few like carpet courts, so super like rare. And it was right beside the media lounge, so you could just like literally pull back this drape and watch these guys like warming up. There's like Berrettini and Tsitsipas in there. You're just like it is like you're sitting there watching, and like no one is around, so that like they'll like a ball comes over to you, they'll kind of like make eye contact with you. It's like a bit awkward, but it's just cool to see them do their craft. Anyways, that's a huge side tangent. Shanghai, they're trying to make it happen, even though the rain is happening. Sinner is through to the round of 16. Medvedev is also through. Alcaraz is through. Tommy Paul is through, and Djokovic is trying to get there, as well as a bunch of other players. So yeah, tournaments going on. It's still a huge draw. There's so many people in it. Djokovic will be playing Flavio Caboli, which I talked about, I think, before the tournament, and that's a sick matchup. So keep your eye on that one, because Caboli's got more chance than I think people are going to think, for sure. But yeah, Shanghai's clipping along, and JP, you saw this. Coco Gauff, American, gets the win in the Beijing Open WTA 1000. What did you think of that result for her?
I think Brad Gilbert is probably sick at home right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Sick.
I mean, it's dope. When I saw her record, she's 8-1 in finals this year. Unfortunately for Muhova, she is 1-5 in finals. But it's fun because I feel like there was a lot of conversation around Coco after US Open of like, man, she's playing so inconsistently. Like just the overall narrative around her was kind of down. And then
Yeah.
boom, one switch of the coach, who knows what's going on, like on the mental side behind closed doors. She comes out, wins a big championship. So
Yeah.
love to see it.
Wait, did you
And I
say she
guess,
was 8-1 in finals? Like eight?
yeah,
She has 8 titles.
yeah,
Coco Gauff does.
Coco Gauff.
Why does that not seem right?
I'm sure it's like I'll pull it up.
That's like because that would be an amazing season. Maybe she does, but it's true because it's funny because I've been like feeling like she's been having a down season essentially since she won the U.S. Open last year.
Right. So here
But
you go. She improved her record in tour finals to 8-1 and now a 7-0 record in hard court finals. A feat never achieved before in the open
okay, like
era.
in her career, I thought you just meant this year. Sorry,
Oh, no. Yeah,
I thought you were
career.
saying like 8 titles this year. I was like, damn, that doesn't make. I don't think she has any titles this year other than this
She'll
one.
be
So
player of the year.
yeah, for real. Okay, that's my bad. That's me mishearing that. But yeah,
No, you're good.
she's kind of flipping the script on people there, and maybe it was a toxic coaching relationship. Maybe
Matt
Brad
Daly
Gilbert wasn't having her.
could Matt Daly be the answer? Time will tell.
Ooh. Is that her
That's
new
her
coach,
coach
Matt
now.
Daly?
Yeah.
Okay, I believe Matt Daly worked with either Bianca Andreescu or Denis Shapovalov.
Shapovalov.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
So
Oh,
could
that's
be
interesting.
interesting. We'll see how it goes. He's got a good record. It seemed like his best player was James Blake. He was his coach for a long time.
That's pretty sick. That is pretty
Yeah.
good.
Let's
So
should we get into the first topic?
we should because it's a doozy.
Let's do it. Mats Wilander had a big quote. Do you want to read the quote for us, or do you want me to?
You read it, JP.
He says it's short, so don't worry, guys. Not long. When Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz are at their best, there is no way anyone has ever played better tennis, and he is directly talking about the big three in that quote.
Yeah, I think people. I didn't see the rest of the clip or the show that he was in, but that's the clip that's gone around, and that's. I mean, it's a thing to say that gets people thinking. When you think of no one's ever played better tennis, who's played the best tennis? That's pretty clear in everyone's mind. The big three. So, yeah, right off the top, what do you think about that statement, JB? Because I got a lot of thoughts.
So I have a lot of thoughts too, and I think there is way more lore than I was expecting when I started to do a little research on it all. Because I've I knew he was a former player. I went and checked the resume. He's former world number 1, 7 singles titles, 7 like Grand Slams. Won the French Open at age 17. Had 4 slams by the age of 20. My personal favorite and funniest, failed a drug test at the 1995 French Open after testing positive for cocaine. So he was getting after it. And the most random fact about Mats is that he lives in Idaho now, which is I guess he's from Sweden, so he would love skiing and snowboarding, and they have that there. But I was shocked at first, and then I saw this quote from him in 2006 after Federer lost to Nadal in the French Open. You probably know what I'm going to say.
I don't.
Bro, so this is so funny. He said, Federer today unfortunately came out with no balls. He might have them, but against Nadal, they shrank to a very small size, and it's not once, it's every time. So when I read this, I'm like, okay, this is honestly tame what he's saying right now.
Maybe he's actually cooling off, but he's been making headlines for a long time. Just saying, like talking about Federer's balls. Could you imagine? I would love to see Federer stop him in the hallway after that and be like, "Hey, Matt, these tiny balls have won more majors than you won in your entire career, and I'm 24 or whatever."
Dude.
Just like I'm gonna win 20. But
He's just sitting there like whenever he said that, he was probably I picture he's got to be a guy that's like saying it knowing the reaction he's going to get and just like, all right, I can't wait till this quote gets out here. Let's watch everything burn and I'm going to love every second of it.
yeah, and like that's what you're in. You're in the media business. You're in the entertainment business. So I think he actually gets that. So I can never tell like what's he saying just for kind of I've heard because there's been lots of quotes over time. It's not
Mhm.
just these two. But to be fair, like the thing, his opinion there hits on a fair question. Like when you see Sinner and Alcaraz going ballistic on each other, like they did in Beijing and some of these rallies, or we've seen in Indian Wells before, or in Miami, or at the U.S. Open, like you do think. And now that they've both, they're essentially the two best players as far as the Grand Slams go right now in the world. You're like, this is the top level. And how high is this level compared to all the other levels? Like, because it's, people forget and there's recency bias. And I think in general, I think this is a case of recency bias because, I think for one, like, I'm not saying that Alcaraz and Sinner aren't going to or haven't been or can't play at the level that those guys did. It's just a too small of a sample size, I think. And Sinner and Alcaraz
Right.
are too young. To put respect on their name, I think they're both going to keep getting better. And
Mhm.
then to put respect on the Big Three's name, they did it like each of them played each other like dozens of times and produced this level. And here's the most, I guess, boiled down point. You see some of these rallies from Alcaraz and Sinner, and they're very like animalistic. You're like, oh my gosh,
Right.
how are they both chasing down these balls? But then you hear the quote from Medvedev and everyone else talking about how slow these balls are and slow
Mm.
the courts are now. So if you go back and watch like Federer, Nadal, like I think like 2009 Australian Open, some of these rallies that they're playing, and they're running down balls the exact same way or crazier, and they're playing with balls that go faster, so their shots are like harder to defend, and they can technically put it away more easily, and the
Mhm.
courts are also faster, so it's like harder to defend again. So it's always like this when people talk about differences in generations. Like people would always say, like, is he the greatest of all time? Federer, when he's in that at the top of that conversation, they're like, well, it's how do you compare him to Bjorn Borg? This one's not
Right.
as far out. Like they're pretty close, but it is still when the big three were all at their peak. That was like 10 years ago now or more when they
Yeah.
were all playing together at their peak. That was like 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. So yeah, I think there's a bit of recency bias. And does that make sense? Like with the court speeds, like these guys are essentially playing in a setting that is, it's like more like you still, it's not less physical. It's actually more physical, but it's like you don't have to be as fast or as on it with your shots as you did back then because the balls are literally slower now and the courts are literally slower.
Yeah, it's almost like it sounds like it's made for highlights way more than the old ones. It's like you have the chance to get to that absurd ball. You can hit a little behind the back shot like Alcaraz is, and maybe even a good example of what you're saying is Djokovic being able to get to these balls when it's kind of like you're this old, you should have no business getting to it. It all plays into the court speed being slower. This
He's been slowing
also
down and the courts have been slowing down at the same time. So it's like staying within reach of him a little bit. But
right.
I don't want to say like I'm not saying that the game's it's actually more physical now. It's harder to play in slower surfaces in the fact that like
Yeah.
yeah, matches are longer and they're more physically taxing. But when you just shrink the game down to just a point, like like the athleticism needed in a point, like I think on a quicker hard court surfaces, like those guys, like I'm thinking more like in 2008, 9, like when Federer and Nadal were playing those quicker surfaces, the rallies looked the exact same
Mhm.
and those guys could each put away any ball at any time because like the balls in the courts allowed them to. But they had the respect of like they can't just go for broke on every shot because
Yeah.
that's another level to the game. Ball bashing, which you can kind of do a bit more of now, is like not as nuanced as like oh like the angle off the court here doesn't allow me to go for that winner if I want to play within the like the risk tolerance I want or like the
Mhm.
height above the net here or the slice. Like there's so many levels to the game, and both those guys play with those levels. I'm not saying that they're not there. I think they're still
Right.
getting better, and I'm just saying that I don't think it's obvious that they're tennis has never been played at a higher level. I think it has. I think all three of the big three played it at a higher level than they've played it. As far as like, and it's between the two of them. Like,
Yeah.
it's between the two of them. It's not like I do think, and I've said this on the show before, Alcaraz could go down as the greatest tennis player of all time, and
Mhm.
or even if he doesn't, he could go down as like, oh, he played the highest level of tennis of all time. But the two of them in a matchup, I don't think it's better than what we've seen from the big three, and I stand by that for now.
Yeah, it seems like we're kind of heading down the LeBron versus Jordan type of argument where there obviously Djokovic is still playing, kind of similar, I guess, how Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan would be when
Correct.
they played against each other. But ultimately, we're going to, by the time, which this sounds crazy too, and it's to your points, by the time Alcaraz and Sinner are in their peaks, it will have been 15, 20 years since Federer and Nadal were in their peaks, even like Djokovic, and it will be the whole, well, you can't really compare generations. So
Yeah.
like, and it's fun to argue, and right now it is like it feels comparable, but it'll always be in the media. They'll talk about it for the next 20 years. Who's better? Is Alcaraz better than Nadal? Is he better than Federer? And you
Yeah.
just hope that the overall feeling from fans is let's just let them both be the greatest of all time in their era and appreciate them all, and then like keep it moving instead of just fighting the whole
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
which is fun. But
It is fun, and I don't mind it. Like some people will really hate it. I don't mind it. I was like basically, you know how like in Batman, what's the guy who does he fight? Bane? Is that who he
yeah,
fights? Bane. He's like, I was born in the darkness. I like the Slice was born in the big three debate. So won't say
right.
I'm like I don't shy away from it, but I do know what you mean. Like you want to be able to like enjoy all the guys and respect them for where they're at or what they've done. But you just made me think of how perfect almost perfect the comparison is of the big three and Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron. Literally, if you think about it, the way and even their styles and the way
Man,
that
you're
players
so right.
and the
You're
way that
so
people
right.
talk about them as well. So many people go out like they look like so obviously Michael Jordan is Roger Federer.
Right.
People say that like no one's played the game to the beauty and at the level and at the like pureness that those guys played. I
Mhm.
think they kind of say that about both guys, and a lot of people still think both of them are the greatest of all time.
Yep.
I think it's kind of more basketball is a bit more maybe more subjective. So like I think for
Yeah.
me it's pretty easy to say or Jordan's the greatest of all time. Um, but still like stay with me. And then Kobe is like Rafa. Like Kobe was had like sharper points to his game. Like there was parts of his game that he was better than Jordan at. He was better
Mhm.
shooter than Jordan. He's obviously less physical than LeBron just because it's a size thing.
Right.
So like Rafa's more physical than Novak in some ways, and Novak's more physical than Rafa in some ways.
Mhm.
Um, but also like Kobe was more injured than those guys, I think, and so was Rafa. And then you got Djokovic and LeBron with like the crazy longevity, like the science behind their bodies,
Dude, it's
never getting
crazy.
hurt somehow. And they both like now have the most records out of the group of the three of them. But there's a ton of people saying that the records don't matter, and Federer or Jordan or not as many people say Kobe's the greatest of all time. But to be honest, not as many people say Rafa's the greatest of all time.
You're so right,
I would
dude.
like if there was a pie chart, it would be like Djokovic. I think now is the biggest share, but it's like barely bigger than Federer's. And then as Rafa's like always just been like the clay guy. So isn't that crazy? Or am I
That
out
I
of line?
love how you just broke it down too. And also, I already know there's about to be some haters out there that are talking about, well, Djokovic has the most championships. LeBron doesn't have the most championships. Go back and listen to what Steven said. He did not say championships. He said records, and
Yeah.
everything he said was on point. And man, that seriously just blew my mind with how similar it all is. And that fires me up.
Well, I've thought about it with like Jordan and LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought of it just as like LeBron and Djokovic, but yeah, like Kobe being in there, like as Rafa, it makes sense. And that's like respect because I love basketball. And those are my guys. I always loved Kobe, but I was like, you know what? I can tell like he's just got too many. He's got a couple deficiencies in his game, and I think Rafa fans are gonna hate me for this, but like there's a few things that held Rafa back from being like the all. And I mean, he won everything on every surface. But
Right.
once the greatness of Djokovic came out on the hard courts, like Rafa couldn't touch Djokovic on the hard courts in a major, and he hasn't
Mhm.
beaten him in a major on a hard court since like 2012 or 2013. So that's crazy to me. Anyways,
Yeah,
crazy, crazy.
I love where that just went. Um, I think we've
We're
pretty
gonna put
much
that
hit
on
every.
Twitter. We might clip that whole section, just put it on Twitter to keep the debate going, or the comparison going and see what people think. But I think that's pretty fair because it's like literally perfect. Like Djokovic has the most records, the longest longevity, and that's kind of those things go. You can't have the most records without having longevity. Like,
Right.
and that's like same with LeBron. Like he wouldn't have had like most of these records if he didn't just like keep playing with perfect health like year in year out. Whereas like Kobe had to retire, got old, and like Jordan like played baseball.
Yeah. Which a whole other story with all the gambling stuff going on there. But
Yeah.
we can go ahead, get into the next one. The king of the quotes, Medvedev. And then also in this segment, I forgot to mention it in the little preview. I would love to get your take on did you see Osaka when she posted like that thread, which
No.
already is hilarious. Oh, bro, from like maybe 4 or 5 days ago. I have it pulled up. You want me to start there and read it to you?
Sure. Yeah.
So our guy Jose Morgado, of course, where we get all of
Queen.
our tennis news from.
Yeah.
He is the one I saw it from because this is part one of why this is funny is like initially posting this on threads, like you have got to be a partner of Facebook if you're like active on threads.
Yeah.
So shout out to Osaka for whatever Facebook partnership she has. She put up a thread and it says, I just saw someone call me a fluke. How is it possible to be a fluke with four Grand Slams, lighting the Olympic torch, beating multiple top 20 opponents, and being close to the top 50 the year after giving birth? FOH, for those who don't know what that stands for, F out of here. You couldn't even touch one of my accomplishments with your fingernail. So she put that on threads. Then she screenshotted it, put it on her Instagram story, and said, did I lie? With a lot of question marks.
Yeah.
So that was
Wait, and who was she responding to? Sorry, I missed that.
all it says is I just saw someone call me a fluke. There's no like this
It's like,
wasn't replying to anybody. She just tweeted that out there.
oh, that's when you know things are like a little rough. Like someone's like, it's like some dweeb incel commenter, like who we're gonna talk about, and then like Naomi Osaka's like, I was good.
Yeah, like yo,
And that's like,
Naomi.
that's why I don't like her. Like that's just why. Like, can you imagine Federer or Djokovic or Nadal ever like saying something like that?
It's like I promise you, you do not have to prove yourself to somebody on the internet when you have exactly all of the accomplishments you just lifted out, like or listed out. You do
Yeah.
not need. Everybody already knows. So,
Yeah.
but
But
it cracked me
when you
up.
defend yourself like that, like it makes us kind of it makes me kind of question it. I was like, were you a fluke? Like, sorry, who were you playing back then?
Are they on to
No,
something?
yeah. You give it oxygen, as they say.
You give
But
it
keep going.
oxygen. That's all I got on there. You want me to get into the Medvedev one?
Yeah, let's get into the Medvedev quote, the quote king. And before you get into the quote, he loves talking about balls. With
He
no
should talk to
sus
Mats
there.
Walder.
Wielander. I think it's actually Wielander. Yeah, he loves talking about Federer's balls as well. It's a ball show.
Yeah.
And when I was in Montreal, as you know, I was asking every player about the balls, which and there was no Freudian slips there, which was good. I didn't say how are your balls feeling. I said how are the balls feeling, and
He said, "You tell me."
yeah, I was like, well, I'm out of here. It's not that kind of press conference. And then Medvedev said he had a whole long spiel about how he loves these balls. They're like the first time since COVID that they've been light like that. And then he went on to lose the first round there and in Cincinnati and then played well at the US Open. But he always is like, literally, he's like, I would almost rather have him an interview than like Federer, which was crazy. If you like,
Yeah.
I used to think like he would be like the best interview ever. So funny. And what did he say? Because I know he says, I mean, like these balls are not adequate for professional tennis. Or what did he say?
Yeah. So I need to make sure because I have two tweets pulled up on my screen right now.
Okay.
Here we go. This is the one. Um, they asked him, what are you changing? The other players are changing, given the balls that you said you don't like so much. What are you changing to get the best out of the situation?
Right.
He said, I don't think anyone is changing. I think it basically favors people who can benefit power from dead balls. Some have better quality with this, some don't. Actually, the two best players at doing this, they're already the best players in the world. I'm sure they would be without the balls. But with these balls, they're the only players who can generate crazy power. It's Yannick and Carlos. Gives them an extra edge. But I try to fight with what I can. We practice a lot. I try to get this power, which I've never had since I was young because of the way my body type is. There were even tests on the muscle that measure power explosiveness, and I don't really have the explosiveness. I can generate a lot of power like going through the ball, but not when the ball is stopped. I try to do what I can. I still play not bad. I'm fighting. I want to go all the way.
He's like, I love how he like says things and then has to like qualify it. He's like these guys are the best with these balls. They'd be the best with at any balls, but with these balls they're even better. And he's like I literally can't generate that amount of pace. Like they've done scientific tests on my muscles. I don't have.
I love that, dude. Because of the way my body type is, there were even tests on the muscle that measure power explosiveness, and I don't really have that
because I look like
explosiveness.
Squidward from SpongeBob SquarePants. I can't. My hands are tied. I have to serve big.
Right. Oh
Yeah,
my
that's so good.
gosh.
Yeah, he's the funniest guy on tour, and he actually, now that I say that, does look like Squidward.
He
Does he not?
does. And he's body aware, like he's body conscious.
Yeah, he's cool. He's married. He's like he's a Grand Slam champion. He's making millions. He doesn't care. Like what
Oh
he
yeah.
plays FIFA. He's not out here in some delusion. So
He's
we
playing
respect
fantasy
that.
football. Medvedev is truly as far and above as they are from us. He is one of us.
Oh yeah, he's one of us for sure. I want to like my next, and I think he's actually been asked about this because when he won the U.S. Open, he did the dead fish flop, which is just like you can't make it up. Like he's out there crushing Novak Djokovic's dream. Like Djokovic is crying between changeovers, knowing that he's about to lose the Grand Slam. Is like chance to get it, and he Bevan just goes out there and fish flops. Like I want to ask him, like, what have you had in the bag for your next Grand Slam win?
Bro.
You've had a few times where you've been in the final, you've been close. What was going to be your next one, or what is going to be your next one?
That would be an amazing question.
Like if he just runs out there and teabags like the service line, like it would be over for me.
Oh my god, that would be all time.
Like
He
multiple teabags, and he's just like like for like 10 seconds, just like what I'm
with that
talking about, like
body.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, and just anything looks funny, like he's saying, because of his body type.
Yeah, like when he does like the dancing, he's like,
Man, I would have paid to be at the lunch table with Medvedev in high school.
yeah, sure.
He would be getting them going. Here, this is do you have anything else on it?
No, what's the other one?
This one this one cracked me up because the tweet was so this I'm going to say it how I imagine this person tweeted it. So he is basically gaslighting and employing gamesmanship and bragging about it. Well, that's certainly a choice. And because when he was going back and forth with the umpire, I forget. I think it was like not his most recent match, but the one right before it.
Okay.
And so the question that he got was, "That's not your first altercation with an umpire recently." And I just wondered, do you worry that that kind of thing will detract from your tennis? Basically, like with getting point penalties.
Yeah.
He said, well, that's the thing. I tried many different things in my career, trying to stay calm, trying to be sometimes not trying, but sometimes I go very crazy. And I think what works is whatever you feel like will work at the moment. It should not cross the line, that's for sure, because you can get defaulted, and that's not nice. Today I didn't. What I did is I got angry when they called the first violation. So I made an impression that I'm saying under my hand or under my mouth, how do you say, but I didn't say anything bad. I was murmuring something like, oh, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad. Then I got the second code, which I guess could be, maybe deserved. And then I went crazy. But I knew at this moment, if I managed the moment of the match, I would lose the first set. If I managed to use it in my advantage, I could do it, and I managed to do it. So sometimes I need it. I just need to not cross the line and be friends after the match, because that's how the sport works also.
He's like
too good.
thinking about it so much more than like other guys. Like
I
he's like,
know.
That is so funny. He's like, you got to be friends with the umpires after this. Like, it goes back to the whole like the small cat comment. You are how I call it, a small cat. Like, just like so
How,
funny.
how you say is one of my favorite quotes from people like that's English isn't their first sentence and they're trying to
Yeah,
or first language and they're trying to figure out how you say and then
yeah,
they'll explain it in the funniest way. And I
yes.
love that you really feel like he's saying the exact words that are in his brain at that exact moment.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like he thinks that as he's saying it, and he thinks that on the court. Like he's like literally like, I gotta try something else here. He's like, I used to just scream at my coach, and he started walking out of my matches, so I don't do that as much anymore. So I tried not caring. That doesn't work. So I'm just gonna be intense, and then I'm gonna be very aware of where the line is because I don't want to get defaulted. Just such a legend. Such a legend. We are he's just a great character to play in the movie that is men's tennis right now. Like you've got
Yes.
Alcaraz and Sinner, like the world beaters. Like they're gonna go down in the history as like some of the best tennis players of all time. I don't think like Medvedev's not gonna be there. And I think he kind of knows that, and he's kind of become okay with it. Because I think he was never like expecting that he would be. Like you hear his story,
Right.
he's like, I didn't even expect like when I was and like because he was actually around for a little bit of time on the pro tour, around 50, 60 in the world, and you're like, he's
Mhm.
just like okay, and then he just became unreal in fall 2019 essentially, and so he's just okay. But I think he obviously wants to win another major because he should have won the 2021 or sorry
Right.
2022 Australian Open over Rafa, so he knows he should be a multiple slam champion. Um, but he's kind of like that like third player where it's like Djokovic, you got, greatest of all time. You got Alcaraz Sinner trying to get there. You got Medvedev trying to ruin it for everyone. Like he's just like he loves playing. He loves being the arch nemesis, and it's funny when but like the nicest, funniest guy. But he just loves to be like the spoiler,
Right.
and he actually doesn't even play good when he's the number one in the world. Like he's been there a few times, and every time he's just like been horrible. Like he's better when he's the underdog, which he's just such a great person to have in our sport.
He's gonna be an epic when all the documentaries get made about Djokovic and Federer and Nadal and Alcaraz and Sinner. Like
Yeah,
each one of them is gonna bring up Medvedev, and each one of them will be laughing and have a smile on their face when they bring him up. And
yeah.
he will be interviewed in all of their documentaries. And I promise he will be the best interview in all of those documentaries.
Yeah, he'll get such a big chunk of the time in those videos that just because he'll be explaining the way that Djokovic or Federer or Alcaraz were so good in such a funny way that it just like makes
He'll
the
be like,
whole
This
narrative better.
guy, this guy, he just felt like I love when he says this guy.
He's like, he's like, I cannot do this. I cannot hit the ball like
Yeah.
that. So that's okay. I try something else. He's like,
I'm a joke.
just
There's no
so,
reason I should be out there, but I should also win. So
he's like, but I play at a high level and not a low high level. He's like, he was like, yeah, he's just got it is that ESL like way with words, like they say things slightly off, and it's so funny. Reminds me back again to my guy Flavio Caboli. He goes, I like very much the vibes here in Montreal. I was like, that's just hilarious how you said that.
well said.
I also do. Okay, that's funny. Into let's go into the third topic here, JP, of not people who are funny potentially, but are also mean. I don't think Medvedev has a mean bone in his body,
No.
but maybe these commenters don't either. But they got to realize that for guys like JP who are maybe a little bit softer around the edge than your guy here, who's got brain damage for 8 years now, it hurts. And what JP, do you want to talk about what hurt you in the last couple of
Well,
weeks here?
first, yeah, I can talk about what hurt me. I'm trying to pull up one of my favorite mean tweets about me because this one, oh man,
This
I'll
is
try to
probably
pull it up
from like
after. The one Steve and I are referring to. Oh, I don't have it. I should have written it down verbatim, but it was basically like we have got to get JP off the podcast. He doesn't know like anything about tennis. He can't say the names. He can't say all of these things. And while they may be correct about some of those things, I could be a little bit prepared, but I will die on the hill that these names are the hardest to pronounce in any sport. I don't care, and that includes cricket. You give me a list of cricket names, I promise I'll do better. But all the
yeah.
Eastern European and like all these names, I get like I don't. I'll just get in my head about it when I'll even see it on the sheet. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna write this down, how to pronounce it, and then I'll be reading it. I'm like, I think I'm gonna mess this one up, and I now I'm
Yeah.
not gonna say it. I'm just gonna ask Steven.
Yeah, which you started to do. But what did they also say? The guy said is like you sound like a California stoner. Is that what he said?
Yes, and dude,
Or is that a
that
different?
one is also great because I've gotten that, maybe not the sound, but the look. A lot of people say, dude, JP, you always look high, like you have to be smoking. And hand to God, hand on the Bible, I have never smoked in my entire life, which, dude, like nobody ever believes, but I will put everything I have on it. I have taken, I could probably count on one hand the amount of times I've taken like a gummy, a little edible
Okay.
gummy, but never smoked. It's like, it's not something I do. It's definitely, I'm just like a laid back person,
Yeah.
but yeah, I need to work that into my Twitter bio or something, or Instagram bio, that
Like
name.
having never smoked weed.
No, the name, like pickle, it was like stoner pickleball friend from California.
It was like so specific. I can't find it either. I think it was a comment. I don't think it was a comment on one of the podcast videos. It was a comment on one of like the regular videos alluding to the podcast. And on the regular videos, it's hard to find those comments because there's a lot sometimes.
Yes.
Um, but that was funny, and that made us think. You know, I've gotten roasted many times. I get roasted all the times for my voice cracking. People make fun. They literally a lot of times people will just go like someone just did this. They're like voice crack. They just literally just like point. I'm like pointed out. It's like I know I have something wrong with me. I don't know what it is. The voice crack. They roast me for like missing getting facts wrong on here all the time
Dude,
about like
yeah, the
what
facts
year
police
something
are
happened.
everywhere.
Yeah, which is crazy. I'm literally pulling like data from 10, 15 years ago off the top of my head, like nobody's business. And then like you ever get it wrong, no mercy, no grace for that. But some of the ones that hurt so none of those really matter. When people call out my mistakes, I literally just say, "Oh, my bad." I always apologize.
Right.
But when people are like they're like one guy said the one that stuck with me. He goes, "This commentary is so pedestrian." And then he's like, I would way rather watch one of the other guys on YouTube. And it's just like that was like I was like that was a well put diss. Calls it pedestrian. So
Dude,
pedestrian.
pedestrian
Like
is amazing. The one that the Canadian audience will like this. It was the first time we had heard it, but it was when Biz and Wit were on our show, and they were
yeah.
talking about like, oh, actually, Wit was talking about Portnoy, and he's
Yeah.
like, and he kept calling him a pigeon. He's like, I'm driving in Boston, I just see this guy, this, I see Portnoy on the side of the road, just looking like an absolute pigeon going around, and like just kept calling him a pigeon. He said he was like, he was built like luggage or something, and we were just crying. I cannot find this one, dude. Like this tweet I had, every now and then I'll get some tweet about my teeth, because like if you can see like some space, and in
Still
the
they're
right
still
lighting,
very they're not
somebody was
bad at
like,
all.
they're like, oh, yeah, it was under a tweet. They're like, JP looks like he eats rocks for breakfast and then asks for seconds. I said, God dang. Oh,
Oh, that's good. You gotta love I don't know about you, but I was surrounded by a group of friends growing up that like you're always just making fun of each other. And that's kind of how you knew you all loved each other.
oh yeah.
Like you'd be making fun of these guys constantly where the girls in your life would be like, "Do you guys hate each other?" You're like, "No, it's like the exact opposite." Like if we all were in a fight, in a bar fight, like we'd die for each other. But that's why I'll never say anything nice to him either.
Hey, you can't,
Yeah.
dude. I prom. Okay, I think I'm in the correct thread now. You're gonna love this one. I sent, once I read this one, I sent it to the group chat,
Yeah.
one of our group chats, because it was. Oh wait. I mean, I don't think anybody has ever gone this far.
People say to me like while you're just finding out, like people go so far, those don't hurt. They're like, "You suck, Steven. You should kill your." There's all those like, "You should kill yourself." Some of like, "You have no father. Your mother hates you." Like all these crazy things. This is like makes you just laugh, right? So
I do
like
think
that.
the tennis fans are some of the worst.
Well, some of them are from like crazy
Like
countries. Like I'm just gonna say it. Like some of them are from countries where like crazy shit goes down, and like
Oh
So I think
yeah.
they're more used to violence or something. So
Dang,
they're like,
maybe I
"Look,
won't be
you're
able
not
to
gonna
find
do
it.
it," just
I'll
like
have to
cut your
send
head
it to you. Yeah. I'll have to send it to you after. It was basically like it was like this isn't verbatim, or it could have even been a different analogy, but say like I would rather have my arms tied to one end of a 18-wheeler and my legs tied to the other and them drive in opposite directions than have to watch the first minute 30 of this video. And so
I
it's so
love
funny, like
I love that stuff.
whenever
Uh,
like say like at the beginning of the episode when we were talking about college football and you're like, oh, like JP, you're like say if you're giving me credit, like things are going well, you have like a little bit of a presence. I'll always like send that comment to them, like, hey, trust me, it's not as good as you think it is. And it is
yeah.
one of my favorite callbacks. That's why I'm sick. I can't find it right now.
I can't find I've had a few like that, I'm sure, and they make me laugh. I show them to my wife all the time. Like, I was actually in prep for this trying to find them. I've like tweeted them out before because people will be like, "You think?" I'll be like, "You think tennis Twitter is crazy? You should come to the YouTube comment section when I'm like trashing someone's like player. Like it gets crazy." But
Dude,
I love it when people are creative and funny. Like that type of stuff is so good. Like I would rather like that type of when it starts out like that, you know it's gonna be good. It's like I would rather never be able to watch tennis again than ever have to watch this guy break down a match. Like
and
I
the
go,
amount of the
fair
amount
enough.
of people on Twitter that like will start out saying something mean and then I'll keep going with them and like, or if it's really good, I'll be like, respect, like this is
Yeah,
a game recognized game. And then we like somehow become internet friends or the
yeah,
greatest relationship friendships you can ask for on the in the internet world.
yeah. I feel like with YouTube commentators, you don't get that because it's like it's not their real name ever, and then it's just
Mhm.
like they'll sometimes reply like you can get in those arguments, but it's like they're more like I don't have to make up here because this isn't tied to who I am. I'm just gonna burn the boat.
Man,
Screw this guy.
you ever go to the YouTube comments of like a sad song or something and people will put out their whole life story.
That's disturbing on a whole nother level. It's like,
And so
I
you
don't
can
ever
tell
want to be
like
at that
this is
place in life.
yeah, like they're truly going through something and I'm just thinking this is not the place for you to say this because when I know when I click these replies, I'm about to see 50% of them talking about you should do it. Like
You
crazy
should have
stuff.
you should have done it. Yeah, that's so brutal. Like
Or they're like,
people
yeah,
don't
bro.
understand the internet. Like I see that with Instagram Reels. Like my algorithm on my personal Instagram is so crazy right now. Like I'll get like some like inbred couple like talking about how it's cool, and then the comments just go so crazy. Or like some really overweight mom like packing her kids lunch, and then everyone's just like you're like just roasting them, and I'm like is the internet bringing back like what the classroom and the schoolyard has lost as far as like getting picked on? Like the reason I'm not, I think, crazy now is because I got like course corrected by all my friends when I was doing something weird. They'd be like, "You're an idiot!" Like that's so lame. You'd be like,
Well,
"Oh, I guess
dude,
I'll like not do that anymore." And
that
now you're not
and
allowed to say that ever. So people just keep going down their path of weirdom, and then all of a sudden they're like dressed up as an animal, like in a parade about someone's rights, and you're like, well maybe if they just got picked on a little more, this would have been, cured.
I'm with you, dude, because imagine if you like if you and I didn't grow up like that, where you're like busting balls. For us, it's like, in the football locker room, it's
Yeah.
just a war zone,
Yeah.
especially in
We're
high
we're
school. Like,
probably a little bit more of the funnier, like, class or clowns, like, spoke up too much, like, it was probably good that people told us to, like I don't know about you, but I got I got, like, made fun of a lot because I was putting myself out there.
oh yeah, exactly. It's like anytime you put yourself out there or you're just like mixed in with a lot of different friend groups, anytime you say something dumb, you got to be ready to be put at the stake. But
Yeah.
now it's like, think about it, the kids now, that stuff doesn't go on in school. So the only time they're taking it is when they're like posting a picture on Instagram that they're like being serious about. And then they get these comments and they're reading it and they've never kind of had to process that. Now they're processing it online. And it's like, you see why. I mean, took like a sad turn. You see why all these like the suicide and like depression rates go up because it never happened to them face to face. It's like all
Yeah, like if
online.
we're best friends and you're telling me that I'm a loser for doing that, like I at least know you don't hate me. But like
Right.
if you're like 10,000 people on the internet are telling you to like go kill yourself, you're like if my best friend's telling me like he doesn't actually mean that. Like it's a hard concept for people to get. Like I always talk about
Right.
that now. Like the women in my life who don't, they still never did. I don't think that was the case for them in high school. It's a bit of a different vibe, but they don't get it. But anyways, like they're like, we'll just talk shit behind your back. We're not gonna say anything mean to your face. We're just gonna like talk shit behind your back.
Girls are nasty. Girls are nastier than guys.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Anyways, we're just trying to solve the world's issues here through the internet. But should we get to a couple smasher passes that you set up for us?
Let's do it. The first one, a little headline I saw maybe 2 days ago was Nadal is set to be healthy enough to play in the Davis Cup in the next Davis Cup round and in the singles. Do you think? Well, smash or pass?
I don't know. Pass. I don't know. Like I'm passing on getting excited for that. He's like the biggest ticket seller of all time. He said so many times where Nadal's coming to town to play, and it's like withdraws due to injury. I'm not saying it's nefarious or like he's like not actually injured. He's always injured. That's been the problem with him. But like the Laver Cup was an example. He's like, we're coming to play the Laver Cup. Psych, we're not coming. So I don't know. I don't know what that means at this point. Like if he shows up, I'm like thankful, but then also like you're like, what is that going to look like? Is what is he
Right.
going to play number 1 over Alcaraz? Like, let's be real here.
That was my thing.
So anyway,
I'm a
what do you
pass as well because it's like, why the Davis Cup? Like why risk it at Davis Cup when you know you're on your last life on the tour and you're gonna like who knows what could happen to your body at any given match? And I don't think the Davis Cup is the tournament to risk it. I appreciate you loving your country, but Nadal, you've served your country well. You deserve a strong, healthy run at the French Open.
Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. I agree with that. Okay. This is a smash or pass for you, JP. Shanghai Masters introducing Djokovic as the GOAT. First time that has happened. I didn't see that, but what do you think?
Yeah.
Smash or pass?
So like it was before his first. I'm smashing. It was before his first match. They've never introduced any tennis player as the GOAT walking out to, an ATP tour level tournament, whether it's 250 all the way up to.
I've never seen that. Yeah.
And so I think it's dope. I think it could. I don't know. It's fun to me because Djokovic, in my eyes, he deserves the love that he's going to get. We're not going to have him on tour that much longer. And if you go by the numbers, he is the GOAT. So shout out to the Shanghai Masters for giving him a proper welcome to the tournament. What do you think, Steven? I think I have an idea.
I'm passing because you know what? I also hated it when the U.S. Open did the walk up for Serena Williams, like diamonds although it was super hard, like super.
That is sick.
Like,
that was sick.
It was sick. Diamonds from Sierra Leone. She's dripped out, and it was like the greatest of all time. Like walks out like that was gangster. But to me, it's not so clear cut that she is the greatest of all time, and that's the same with Djokovic. To be fair, so like as the tournament putting that on is kind of crazy. I think you've always gotten that with different announcers or like even on like on-court hosts. Like some of them, it's just their own liberties they're going to take. Like you've seen when Federer was at his peak and he was at like 17 and Nadal was at 12 and Djokovic was at like 5. They were like, this is why you're the greatest of all time. Some people would say one of the greatest of all time. Some people would say just the greatest of all time. It's like that with Djokovic now. Some people say the greatest of all time. And some people say one of the greatest of all time. But yeah, tournament doing that's kind of crazy to me. And but I also see why they did it because, as you say, statistically, he is.
It's funny you say that too because Dimitrov, they asked him at the tournament who is the GOAT, and he said Federer.
Really? What did he? Yeah. Why did he say that?
It was just like one of those rapid fire like ATP Tour media questions, and that was one of them. And right after the guy asked, Dimitrov was just like. Like it rolls the eyes. Is like for me growing up and playing against and seeing it all happen. Like I'll go Roger.
He's a real one. That's what I'm saying. A lot of people say Jordan. A lot of the young kids today want to say LeBron. They don't think Jordan, but
it's LeBron, man. LeBron's the best all-around player of all time. But
yeah,
the last Smash or pass is the Djokovic Zverev handshake while Djokovic was on the treadmill. Did you see that video?
I didn't see it. So you smash or pass, and then I'll formulate my opinion based on that. What happened?
So I didn't get the only thing that happened was there was an 8-second clip. I don't know what happened after it, but Djokovic is on the treadmill or elliptical, one of the two, doing his thing, and Zverev comes walking onto camera because it's like they show you that security camera view,
Yeah.
and he walks up and he puts his hand out, and for 2 seconds nothing happens. Then Djokovic finally kind of sees him, and looks like Zverev is going to shake his hand. Djokovic hits him with the quick dap and then waits for the the dap fist bump. And it was just super slow and no words were exchanged between either of them in the 9-second clip. So it was does Zverev just completely misread his relationship with Djokovic? Did he pick the worst time? Is this just a bad 9 seconds? And for all of those reasons, I'm smashing.
Just because why? You're a sucker for punishment?
Yeah, just love the awkwardness of it all. I can only hope, even though I know it did not go like this, I can only hope that they just sat there and for 5 more seconds and then Zverev just kind of quietly walks away. Crap.
Probably did have it like that. That's the worst time ever to go down when he's running on a treadmill. You're going
dude's about to fall.
Yeah, you're about to end this guy's career. That's funny. Yeah, I'll pass on that because that's just Zverev can be so awkward. Although he does seem to dap it up with a lot of the tour, throughout all his accusations and all the public hatred towards him, which I think has been pretty loud. It seems like he's always had the support of the players, which kind of surprises me because
it says a lot.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it does. Depends what you think the rest of the players are like.
That's a good point too.
Yeah, they're all just like animals, which some of them are, but I don't think I just don't know. Whenever I've watched him, he's always just giving me in press conferences. He seems like a likable guy, and I've walked around. When he walks around, I can see when he's on court, doesn't seem likable to me, or some other ways. But I don't know. It's a weird one.
We'll have to meet him to find out.
We'll have to have him on the show. Although I don't see him doing many interviews where with people who can just ask any question. To be fair, which
he's got his own podcast with his brother that he's worried about.
Ugh, lame. Anyways, I think that's it. Is that the show?
That is the slice presented by Betway and presented by Shepherd Boughton. He's now our sponsor of the show.
Yeah, well, he's not paying for anything, so it's not a very good sponsor. We will see you next week after the Shanghai Masters has come to a conclusion. So we'll be able to let you know how our best bet of the day hit, our best bet of the day pick hit. But yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for checking out the slice. We will see you next time here on the podcast.
Sayonara.